Hello, good evening, everybody. And I'm really pleased that you could join us this evening for this conversation with some of our internationally educated nurses and members of the RCN. This conversation is where we're going to explore the journey of an internationally educated nurse from differing countries around the world as they come to the UK. And we'll also introduce to you some of our videos that have been undertaken by our participants today. There's an opportunity for you to be able to ask us questions and to be able to to be involved in that conversation. So I'd like to take this opportunity first to introduce myself. My name is Nichola Ashby. I'm the Deputy Chief Nurse here at the Royal College of Nursing and the lead for international, but also for the Institute. I have with us some really exciting guests, and I'm going to take some time to introduce them after they've introduced themselves through their video. We know that at the moment, over half of our nurses joining the NMC register for the first time are internationally educated. And we know that the top 5 countries of training for our new joiners to the register from outside of the European unions are India, Philippines, Nigeria, Ghana and Zimbabwe. And so I'm really excited to see the journey of our participants in this webinar this evening. From India, we know there are over 20.8%, and in the Philippines, 9.8% that make up the 2 largest groups of individuals that are joining the UK register. As well, we know that there are many nurses that are coming forward as nursing support workers and as healthcare workers across the UK who are equally valued in our workforce. Between April 22 and March 2023, we saw 3,457 new registrants across the UK. And from that, from Nigeria, 1,263, and from Ghana, many more, and many from Zimbabwe. The RCN team have helped and tried to support some of our nurses across many areas of employment relations and professional body. And what we've done is put together some videos that are able to introduce to you that journey, as well as interviewing individuals about their bespoke and specific journeys. And you'll be able to find those videos on YouTube. We'll talk a little bit more around what the RCN does for us and what you can be offered as a member of the RCN. But I'm sure at the moment you want to watch the videos and then see and talk to our individual nurses and experiences of their journeys. Thank you. Can we play the videos, please?
Finding about the NHS, it really made me pursue coming to a place wherein healthcare is for everyone.
I am very passionate about nursing. I never traveled anywhere apart from my hometown. UK has always opened the door for nurses and the value nurses. Change always comes with challenges.
Main challenges when I started was communication.
The culture was different. We had to adapt to the system as well. When you come, you start like you're a freshly trained person.
The challenge for me was how to fit in with my co-workers. They helped me progress to be a better nurse every day.
Getting used to the culture in here took a lot of time for me. The best teacher throughout the process of learning how to communicate was patience.
It's a proper nursing home. They have about 30 plus patients who need full support. They're quite dependent on all the care.
RCN in lots and lots of ways have helped me.
I have found many different groups within the RCN.
They helped me with voicing out my concerns.
I remember going to my first RCN Congress and I knew I had the answers to everything I would want. I had the voice that I was craving so badly.
That is a story, how RCN helped me. 10th month already I'm working in my dream job. Their aspiration and their vision for the members, they are really great.
The help is there. The support is there. The resources are there.
Have that mentality to always learn, be open to changes as well.
Don't be embarrassed to tell people that, oh, I don't know this, it's not being done in my country. Can you tell me about this? And this is now a start of connecting and communication. Embrace the diversity. It's okay, we're all different and there's beauty in it.
We shouldn't be afraid to show people both the real and the vulnerable sides of ourselves. The whole of the NHS is out there to help and support you personally and professionally.
Working for the NHS within the UK As a nurse, it will really offer you a lot of pathways.
I feel more fulfilled.
It's a very special kind of work. It's the heart and soul of healthcare.
Enjoy every steps that you're going through.
I'm a proud international nurse. It's not easy to leave your country and come and work in a different country.
It's a new life. I'm proud of myself for overcome those challenges.
That's a fantastic video, and actually we're really proud of you all as well, and all of those nurses who are attending this video. So please take this opportunity to place your questions up in the chat as we start to move through this, but I'm going to introduce the real people that you came here to hear from and the people that you want to see. We have three actually of our nurses currently. We have one of our participants who are trying to get in and have IT issues. So should he be able to make that through to us, we will of course add him through into the chat. I'd like to introduce Katharina, who's an adult nurse working in Scotland, who trained in the Philippines, and she's been a nurse for 14 years and plus 2 years of registration. So actually, I'm going to let her explain in a little while about herself as we move through. I'd also like to introduce Ava, and these are faces that you will have seen on that excellent video there. Ava is a theatre nurse who works in the Eastern region, and Ava comes from Kenya. And she started off working as a healthcare support worker, a nursing support worker across the UK, while she's actually studied to do her English exams and her adaptation, and has worked really hard. And as you can see, she attended Congress and found the voice that she always felt that she needed. And also I'd like to introduce Nichola, who's an advanced nurse practitioner who's based within Wales, trained in India and works in intensive care, and qualified in 1998 and came to the UK in 2001. And you've all been here quite a while now, undertaking different roles. So Kat, I'm going to start with you, and I wonder if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your journey and what it's like to be an internationally educated nurse in the UK.
Thank you very much, everybody. Hi there. So I'm Kat. It's Katrina. So I am from the Philippines, born and raised in the Philippines. I've been here in the UK since 2018. I think I could be the baby in the group. So I've been here 5 years, but I have left my country since 2008. I've been to several countries, mostly in the Middle East. Once in Afghanistan as well, doing some work, occupational health and all that. So that was another experience. I am currently practicing in Scotland. I am medical surgically trained. I had specialty in oncology and hematology. And my favorite ever since, which I am trying to hone right now, is education. I am currently taking my master's, which I am aspiring to have a PhD on as well. It's in clinical education, and I am doing that here in Edinburgh. I currently work in a neurology ward right now. I have background as well in general medical, A&E. I have done palliative care as well. I worked through COVID when it hit the UK, and I am one proud internationally educated nurse here. So welcome, everybody.
Well done. That's a really extensive career, and you've not stopped yet by the sounds of it. You've got quite a few plans moving forward. Thank you for that, and we'll be coming back to expand upon some of those points and some of your experiences. I'm going to move to Ava now and ask you to also tell us a little bit about you and about your journey.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Eva Omondi. I moved into the UK in 2012 as an already trained nurse from Kenya. So my coming to the UK initially was to join my husband, to support him through his PhD education. And when we got the opportunity to come in, we came in with the whole family. I had 4 children, and that makes the 6 of us. When I came in, the initial challenges were, as I thought, it wasn't. I initially thought that as a nurse who was trained in Kenya, I would come in and just, get into the system and carry on with my nursing. That was not the case then. The previous years were quite different, and I think my basing basing my understanding on that, I thought that that was the same system. The system had changed. It meant that we had to take English exams before being registered. And after doing the English exams, there was a verification process, which meant that after you were cleared, then you had to do an adaptation. So we were actually the last people who did the ONP program, the Overseas Nurses program, when they were just in the blink of introducing the OSCE and the CBT that the nurses do today. Anyway, when I came in, I started working as Nichola said, as a healthcare assistant. I did that while I was looking for an opportunity to adapt into the system and to get my registration. I did get my registration in 2013, towards the end of it, because there were a few hiccups. When you were meant to start, the program directors, I think, had issues and they had to stop. Then that made us wait quite a bit. So my registration came actually in October 2013. There were a lot of challenges of adapting into the system. I actually can't say I had a lot of issues with communication, because in Kenya, I think English is our basic. We do everything with English. It's our official language. So communication was not a problem as such. But when I came into the hospital I was the only Black from Kenya, and my cohort were only from Philippines. So that was a bit of a challenge, but then it was okay in the sense that they were quite friendly. The only place I found a bit of a hiccup was in the ward, where nurses were quite unfriendly, and that made me crave the voice that you heard me talk about, because there was outright discrimination and racism, and they could actually tell you that you don't have anything to bring on the table, and that made me feel very not appreciated, because I came with a lot of experience, 16 years of nursing practice, and then I come in and, you know, they want to show you that you really don't know much. So anyway, I started looking out for my RCN union, and that is when I discovered RCN. And since then, having attended my first Congress in the RCN, I knew I was in the right place and I knew I had the right voice. I'm a nurse practicing as a theater nurse. I'm a recovery nurse. I also do general nursing. I'm very passionate about nursing, and it's something I'm ever going to die with. What I can say that let's talk, let's speak out. Let us not be brought down because of our cultural differences and where we come from. Some of us come from places where we lack confidence. We cannot challenge authority, even when there are things that are happening which are outrightly wrong. We tend to shy away. RCN gives you the voice, it gives you the backup, it gives you the support, it gives you the resources, and it teaches you, it gives you opportunities also to progress and to develop. And I think it's a one-stop shop for any nurse who is coming into the UK. So I'm very proud. I'm a very proud member of RCN. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to come back and pick up on a few of those points and ask you some more questions around that for the discussion. Thank you. And Kokila, would you like to take this opportunity to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the session. My name is Kokila. I'm from India, and I'm so glad to be here to representing Indian nurses. They are the majority of them. I'm here since 2001 September, and came as adaptation nurse, and I just progressed in my career as a critical care outreach practitioner. In intensive care was my background throughout in UK. And then I became advanced nurse practitioner, done my master's, done my prescribing. I'm a prescriber as well. Then I got a few personal agendas, like my vision to help my health board, my workplace, and my NHS. And I have done some work with during COVID with ethnic minority workforce, which gave me a lot of insight, about diversity, inclusion, everything. So I was nominated as a British Indian Nurse Association lead. So I got in Wales. So I am currently as executive lead for British Indian Nurse Association, and I managed to get into Wales board of RCN, which is really proud to be a only coloured board member in RCN Wales, and well supported, great experience. I need to contribute a lot, and I'm waiting. Yeah, it's a lot of hat I'm wearing, but for this purpose, I enjoy nursing. I enjoyed NHS with the support of RCN so far. And I wanted to say a lot of things, because I really want to inspire you how I progressed in my career, what are the obstacles, like challenges I faced with my resilience. Sometimes you feel that you are all alone facing, but it's not really. You have a lot of support around, which is why I'm here to give you some awareness or some support. If people think that they are silently struggling, or but you're not. Okay, RCN is here, and we all are here. Being helping you to support you. Yeah, that's it for now. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. So there's a few things that have jumped out at me from from listening to you around your journeys, which actually maybe there's a similarity around that. And one of the things that often people speak to me around is that that Ava touched on around that integration into our nursing workforce here within the UK, and sometimes how difficult that can be, and sometimes how difficult it is when we're actually with patients and understanding, etc., around different cultures. And one of the things I want to ask you is, what were your experiences of that? And have you a top tip that will help people to settle in and will also help our UK workforce to understand the challenges that you're going through? I'm going to start there with Ava.
Some of the challenges that overseas nurses experience when they come over here, like I mentioned initially, when I came, I thought I'm a qualified registered nurse. I'm just coming to, get into the system and get on with it. That was not a thing. And even now, there is still the process, which is the CBT, OSCE route, and the initial first thing that you must do is to prove your ability to communicate, which is the essence of actually delivering nursing services. So international nurses must, they must meet those strict licensing and qualification requirements, which can be time consuming and also costly in a way, given how much we are paid back at home. But I wouldn't want you to give up on that, because if you can do your English and pass it, then CBT is mainly nursing, and OSCE is just proving that you got the skills that you require to have this in place, just to ensure effective and safe practice. Adaptation to the new system, policies and procedures may be challenging. And again, when you come from out there, the way we speak is different. So that forms part of the adaptation, because we have different accents. So with different accents, it may be difficult for you to understand how people speak when you join in initially as a practicing nurse. So that requires a bit of time actually to, unlearn your culture and fit into the new culture, and learn your accent and learn the new accent, so that communication is in a harmonious way. So that is something that I realize affects most of us, because especially in the OSCE exams, when you go there and you cannot communicate, it becomes a problem, because OSCE is the last stage for registration. So for you to register, you must pass that OSCE. And passing that OSCE requires a lot of communication. So that I can tell you that we need to practice as international nurses who are coming from abroad. We need to have that in mind, that we will be able to practice, listen to the YouTube sessions. There are a lot of resources out there that can help nurses to know how to go about English and communication and nursing practice and the skills that are required. We may also think that when we come to the UK, then the workload is, the workload and the pressures are a bit less. No, the workload and pressures that we meet in the UK can be demanding, and high patient to nurse ratios are always fast-paced environment leading to stress. When you are new in a place like in the UK, there are expectations, and the patients are more aware than the patients in our country. So they will be quizzing you, and yours is to take it positively because they are more informed. So in that process of being quizzed and the patients want to know, what medication am I taking? Don't feel they're being against you. Just understand that they want to know that they're, the services they're receiving are quite safe, because it's about their health at the end of the day. So the challenge is we as nurses need to really be equipped with the knowledge and the skills that we require so that we can administer safe services and we can be confident and competent in our areas of jurisdiction. Relocation challenges. Moving to a new country involves adapting to a new, different culture, finding accommodation, dealing with potential homesickness. That can be something really. And I can advise the nurses who are coming with children like I did. I experienced it. There's no lie about it. At one point, I had to send my children back to Kenya because it was difficult. When they were young and childcare is so expensive. And remember, we come on the no recourse to public funds. So don't be cheated. When you're coming here, know that childcare is absolutely your issue to deal with, and there are no subsidized costs for international nurses. There are no recourse to public funds. And initially, when you're coming, you need to prove the funds that you're able to take care of your family without looking at the public funds from the government. And now that brings us to another point of the immigration and the visa issues.
Can we come back to that issue? Can we come back to that, Nick? Because I'm going to come back to that issue. I am going to come back to that. I know we've got Adekola that's just come in, and I want to make sure that we all get a chance to, but I am going to come back to that. Absolutely. Thank you. I wonder, Nichola, if there's anything you wanted to add to that around that experience of what it's like to come here and that top point. How do you help us to help you to integrate into this?
Thank you. Yeah, it's a really interesting question. We can talk all day about it, but I just want to summarize it. My experience coming here, because I came as a single, because in my family, there's no girls went out of my hometown. I came all the way here, and I don't even sit down in front of my uncle, in the living room. That kind of cultural background I came from. It was totally shocking. I know the life will be better. I really want, really UK is the best place to come work as a nurse because the respect is huge. So I came here, I didn't realize the cultural shocking it's going to be. So I can't, I just feel hesitant to call my senior with a name. I have to put something, but they said you have to call by name. So these kind of even little challenges will put you down because your hesitation and your confident level will all, shaking when you come out of your cultural zone. Anyway, then this is how the adaptation period helped me for first 6 months, talking to people. And yeah, then the one thing, it's not me, but the people need to know about my culture as well. So why I can't have eye contact, why I can't, speak up, why I can't be assertive. So then I started to talk about how I, brought up, this is the culture. So it's kind of bi-directional learning. I know they're learning me. That makes my workplace so comfortable. The thing that I want you to speak up. I want you to tell what is your background, what is your cultural beliefs, not only dressing, like if you wear sari, it's not your culture. So you have to say something else more than that to your work colleague, and just speak up and make your team aware of, cultural differences. and which you can work better, and you can make really good workplace. That's one point I want to say, but you have to be engaged. That's the important thing, because a lot of my experience, the engagement is really low. You know, it's not a negative thing. I was thinking that is also cultural difference. Okay, so you have to bring up your engagement in order to learn from others and teach others. Then the cultural difference will resolve in one point, which resolved in my position. Then there's other challenges, like Eva said, there is lots of other challenges, but I'm always the champion for cultural awareness wherever I go. You know, I want to promote this. Yeah, so this is a little brief about the cultural thing. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Kat, I'm going to come to you, and then I'm going to take the opportunity to introduce Adekola before we return back to some of the questions.
So first is I want to address this top tip for those who are just planning to take their IELTS, especially the speaking exams. So I think, especially the speaking part of the IELTS, I think that's the most intimidating part, at least for me, when I took the exam. Guys, watch TED Talks. You see on YouTube's the 10-minute talks that these people are doing on how simple and confident and just really concise that they speak. Memorize those TED Talks. Get into the habit of getting into what's the main point of those TED Talks and practice in the mirror. I did that when I did my IELTS, and I've got my speaking exams great. So guys, for those who's taking English exams, watch the TED Talks, because I think IELTS speaking exam now is just 10 minutes, isn't it? 10 to 15. So that will be very, very useful for you. So for that's the one for those who are taking the English exams. Second is for the one who's taking the OSCE. So these are the nurses that are already here now, and they're just practicing. You know, each hospital has their own training programs. You're allowed to see patients even though you're not registered yet, because these are the band 4s, I believe, trainee nurses into the entry practicing their OSCE. You're going to be surprised on how accepting the British people are, because when I was training for my OSCE, every time I would go into a patient, I would ask permission. Can I actually speak out what I'm trying to do here, Mary? Is that okay? Why? I'm trying to get my licensure here. I've got registration in my country, but I need UK registration and I need practice. Is it okay if I speak out is it okay if we just talk and tell you what I'm doing? You'll be surprised how many patients will say, of course you can, darling. Of course you can. So when I started practicing how to give a bath or how to administer medication, Mary, I'm giving you aspirin. This is a blood thinner. It expires in 2025, and I'm going to put it in a pot. This is your water. Are you okay? Can you tell me your date of birth? That's a good practice for me that time. So by the time that I went into my OSCE, I was confident enough to exactly say what I'm trying to do at the bedside. So that's the second advice that I can give to OSCE takers, future OSCE takers. The last one is, once you've already integrated into the system, you're already a registered nurse. We all are. Always remember that. Once a nurse, always a nurse. It's just a matter of registration number. Always remember, guys. When you get into the wards, you know, those assessments, those paperworks that they have, take one copy of each, take it home and sit with it, so that you don't get intimidated and overwhelmed once you get into the ward with 10 patients and 20 assessments to do, and you don't know how to fill out those assessments. At least when you take home with you those papers, you would have time to process each component, making sure that we are actually assessing the patients correctly. On my first year as a registered nurse, we all know that we are assessing the patients the right way. I mean, the same way. At the end of the day, these are human beings. No matter what country they come from, we assess them the same way, but it's just the difference of paperwork. Guys, do not be intimidated by how different those paperworks look like. So just take them home with you, sit with it, learn how to assess them, so that when you come into work, you're more confident and you're quicker ticking those boxes. And the last advice is that for the ones who's just starting their journey, I was there. I know it myself. It's intimidating. It's very nerve-wracking. It will make you nervous. But always remember, as I said earlier, once a nurse, always a nurse. And there's nothing hard taking care of a human being, because that's just another you. There's no difference whether that's a British patient and I'm a Filipino nurse. That's a human being in there, and it's like you're just looking after another you. So that's what I can advise.
I'm looking through the chat, actually, ladies, as we go through, and I know we're moving into questions shortly, but actually there are a couple of things that are coming forward around some of the things that you've spoken about here. And one of those is, Eva, I'm going to come back to you around, there's a question in here around bringing your children and how difficult it is to bring your children over whilst undertaking the exams and all of the other areas. How did you manage that, and would you recommend that?
Actually, bringing your children and your family is not the difficult part. I can tell you that, and tell you it again, that that's not the difficult part. The difficulty comes when you are here already and you have to maneuver your work plans and family life around the children. For people who came in single, I think they missed that bit. That's a very exciting bit, you know. That's a very exciting bit that you missed out. I got it point on right from the day I came in, and it was not the most exciting thing. Initially, I don't know why, I just never thought about it. I just thought that life in the UK in terms of childcare was just as fun as back at home, but that was not the case. Here, when I came in and I realized that I was suddenly in this community where I had no family, I had to quickly get into the social ties or with the people that I related to. I had a church around me. I had my community from Kenya. I had to quickly identify where they lived. And thank goodness I had a few around the location where I was. So they were quite helpful in initiating my know-how about how to go about childcare. They introduced me to the au pair world, where you get help, child minders from other countries. They were allowed to come into the country, and that was quite helpful. I'm not saying that do not come with your family, with your children, especially when they are still dependent in terms of going to school and must have somebody at home with them at any given time. But the catch is, will you have the right childminder? Will you be able to afford that childminder? You must remember that you have no recourse to public funds, because that is what the Home Office law says. So it's not like you're going to get some subsidized fee to get someone to look after your children. You must pay them the terms of pay that they must be given. So it's quite difficult. And so I can advise those who are thinking about coming to the UK with little children who still are very dependent to think about that. I'd rather they come, settle, and see what is possible and what would work for them before they bring them on board. But if they're coming with a husband or a spouse, or they're able to bring in an extra person who will dedicate their time to the children, well and good. But just remember that the settling can be quite a challenge, because you have to look for housing, and then the bills are there, and the cost of life in the UK is not as cheap as the cost of life that we have back at home. Here you have to pay for the council tax, the bills are different, and the salary we get when we come is not that big salary that sounds there. What they never tell us is the cost of living in relation to the salary that we will be getting. So when people come, if you're a single person, it's different. But if you're coming with a family, just have that in mind, that you might struggle quite a bit, especially in the period when you're settling and when you don't have family here. It's also different for the people with family. If you have family here, you may work around your different times of work so that there's somebody at any given time to look after the children. So in terms of settling, when you have children, guys, think about it. How old are your children? Do they need you to be around? Because here we have rules. You cannot leave children just on their own like that. They must have an adult, a responsible adult, to take them to school or to stay with them at home while you're at work at any given time. So you need to think about that. And another thing that I would really want to talk about is the funds. Do you have enough funds to help you in the initial period when you are still settling. Because I know some of my colleagues, some of my neighbors have come and they have to constantly call back home to request for funds, because in that period of doing the OSCE can be very stressful. The salary is very minimal. You're a band 4. You have, let's say, 4 or 3 children. You have a husband who has not started working, is still getting into the system, or maybe you're a single parent. And the salary is just not enough. You're not already enrolled in the bank to be able to do extras. So you are actually just dealing with that initial salary. And after taxes, you realize you can only probably pay the rent. So what about the bills? These are things we need to think about. Am I answering your question in terms of children and
Perfectly, thank you.
Yes.
Perfectly. Thank you very, very much. Nichola, I wondered if you wanted to take this opportunity to introduce yourself and just talk a little bit about your journey.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Nichola is my name. I'm a Nigerian trained nurse. So I qualified in 2008 in Nigeria. Then after that, I specialized in nurse anesthesia. Okay. Then I moved into the UK in 2020. So the year 2020, I started as an ICU nurse in the NHS. So I'm currently in nurse education as a practice development nurse.
There's some fantastic questions coming through, and please keep these coming through. And what we will do is we will endeavour to, if we can't capture these, we'll endeavour to make sure that we somehow get some responses out to you around these areas. There are, one of the questions that has come through is around preceptorship, and I think that's a really exciting question here, because there's something about the distinct and bespoke things that need to be brought forward in preceptorship, not just around the journey for taking registration, but that preceptorship journey. And what is there? The question is, what would you recommend that we place into that preceptorship training, and how would we be able to put that in to support our internationally educated nurses? And I'm going to come first to Kat, because I saw you sit forward there with your education hat on.
So I think, guys, with the preceptorship just now, it's really different. It depends on the geographical location. England, Scotland, I'm sure Wales, I'm not very familiar for the preceptorship program in Wales. It's all different. But if you look at it in a bigger picture, it's all the same, that you're assigned with 1 or 2 people that's going to help you guide your way. You'll be given a book, you'll be given a document to do that, and you'll be given a timeline. But the idea here is that not to rely on your preceptor to give you the tasks, so that you will take the lead to do it. So I think what I could advise is ask for the preceptorship program. Sometimes the hospitals could be a bit busy and be a bit delayed upon onboarding our newly qualified nurses, or for the ones who's doing access to nursing, they might be a bit delayed with the workbook, but try and do your follow-ups, because it's already intimidating enough to start somewhere where it's different. It's most helpful if you're gonna have your own document to follow. It might be a book or it might be online, but make sure that you keep your documents and you keep your record on whatever you wanted to achieve, or whatever you need to achieve to be on board of that. Second is that expand your resources. The RCN website is such a good place. The RCN I Learn, we've got portfolios in there. Do not be focused on what the hospital is giving you. Try to expand your resources. NMC website has a lot as well. That's my second suggestion. What else can I remember with the preceptorship? Engagement with your mentors. Do not ever be afraid to ask your mentors questions. And if ever you think that you're not getting the answers from the mentors, just because probably they have other responsibilities, our nurse practitioners, the specialist nurses, if for example, the infection control nurses, or even other allied health professions like the physiotherapists, the speech and language therapists, if you ask them questions, they could actually show you as well, because at some point you will encounter them in the practice. You can also engage with them just to help you guide your way. But always remember, guys, it is not their responsibility. It is your responsibility. We have to take ownership of it when we are going through the preceptor. They're just there to support and to help. But this is it. It's your own. It's your little baby for the first 6 months. It's you and your preceptor book. So that's what I can suggest.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Nichola whether you have anything that you want to add here around how you deal with your own mental health and well-being as an internationally educated nurse in the UK.
Yeah, well-being is very important, and without that, I can't come this far, being 22 years. Yes, because my well-being really shaked during COVID time, of course. But throughout my career, like speaking up to my colleagues, I always, go and approach the right people I trust who can advise me. But we are, because my experience, like we are very task focused. We don't think about our health and well-being until it get affected. But here in all the health boards and NHS, they have a lot of supportive system. They will give you when you need, this kind of support. But don't ever feel embarrassed that you feel overwhelmed or exhausted or you can't cope with the situation. That is not the weakness of yours, okay? That is important because you are going to look after the patient. Whatever happened to your well-being or mental health, that end up affecting the patient, which is not acceptable. So my experience, I always read myself when I'm stressed, when I'm overwhelmed. I will take a pause and I'll speak to my manager or senior people that I need a little break because I can't cope with the situation, or why this situation is happening, why I need resilience, because I know my own resilience. I need extra resilience to cope with situation. So it always take a pause and analyze yourself, how you're feeling. Don't go with go with unhappiness to the patient or to the work colleague, because it end up make more damages. So look after your well-being. There is a lot of opportunities that you will know about yourself, how, because you probably have a lot of, as Eva was, I'm so impressed because I wasn't having that struggle. She came with 4 kids and husband, and I was privileged to come as a single. And my journey is kind of smooth. It's going, all the way, focusing on career, then husband comes, then family comes, everything comes. But I think you need to speak to someone. You have to tell, don't suffer silently. That is very important. That's what I experienced and I practiced throughout my journey, which helped me a lot. I can go to my work very happily. I'm always looking forward to go to my workplace, which is a good sign. Okay, that's my second home. I want to make my second home happy as my own home. So well-being is a foundation. Yeah, thank you.
Nichola, I'm going to ask you a little bit around continuing sort of education and how easy it is for internationally educated nurses to access continuing education and courses and their own personal development.
Sorry, just prior to that, is it okay for me to say something about the mental health?
Of course, yes, of course.
Okay, I'm particularly impressed with Nichola's experience. However, it's not every one of us that we're lucky to have that nice experience, having people around to support you when you're just coming in, having that confidence to walk up to your manager and get the necessary support. I, as a person, actually suffered when I newly came in, and from my experience and my interaction with a lot of international nurses, I can say the major enemy of your mental health is suppression. Okay, and when I say suppression, I mean not speaking up. So because back from where I'm an African. So as an African man, we believe, okay, we are strong, we can handle anything. We've gone through a lot of difficulties in our life already, and we feel we are mentally strong enough. However, coming into the UK, few months, you find yourself getting depressed, you find yourself losing your confidence, you find yourself losing your self-esteem, and you're wondering what's wrong with me. I've handled more difficult situations in the past. So what's my problem right now? But the problem I've found out is suppression, because you are not speaking up, you are not expressing yourself, you are not seeking help, you are not talking to people, you're having that you are wearing that mask and smiling, assuming you are just pretending you're okay. Then you get home, you are crying, you get back to work, you are dreading going to work, and something is not going well with you. You don't know who to speak to, or you know who to speak to, you feel you are afraid of being judged, so you're not speaking up, or you're afraid of being misconstrued, then you're not speaking up. That is going to impact on your mental health. And the conclusion on that is to always speak up. And I say to people, you won't get in trouble for speaking up. So it's always better when you speak up. The more you take, the more they give. So if you're having an unpleasant experience or something is not going the way you want it, please speak up. Kokila, I can see you are raising up your hand.
Okay, because I'm trying to be very positive. I hide all my struggle, honestly, but you opened up. That's even true, because you need to be very assertive, very brave, even for asking and speaking up. It's not easy thing. There's lots and lots of internal battle before you ask something. People judge you, or people underestimate you. People, there's a lot of battle, but you need to have the courage to speak up, and that's nothing to embarrass. To, as Kate previously said, it's nothing. We need to know our we need to know our weaknesses and make sure that is not a weakness. Yeah, thank you. Yes, Eva?
I know people are speaking on different topics, but I feel that is an area that we really need to help our international nurses on. Our international nurses come with no voice, not because they don't have the voices, but it's because of how they have brought up and the culture that they live in, where your superiors are your superiors, you're there to be seen and hardly be heard. So when we come into this culture, this is a culture that encourages open communication, even though there are some other challenges about it. But for us to pick up that confidence and stand for what is right and, challenge issues, it becomes a problem. I like to give this example, which I'm very proud of. When I brought up this motion against the immigration health surcharge fee, when we were paying immigration health surcharge as international nurses when we came here, that was something that when I approached my international colleagues about, they were wondering that, Eva, are you out of your mind to challenge a government that has given you the visa to be in their own country? I said, well, this thing is not right. We are paying the taxes. We are paying the national insurance. Why should we be put to pay again the immigration health surcharge fee to access healthcare in a setting where we ourselves are supporting and are the ones making it run? So when I brought that topic, everybody was shying away. And I said, well, you shy away. I'm going to go ahead with this motion and we're going to push it. We have the RCN by us. We pushed this motion, and by 2020, when the immigration health surcharge fee was kicked out, everybody was like, what? So today we are celebrating the no payment for immigration health surcharge fee for the health and social care professionals. Those who are coming new into this country may not know what we went through, but it was because of speaking out. So that is one example where speaking out can work. And so even in our workplaces, let us learn to speak out. When you see things that are happening that are not right, when you see colleagues that have no voice, please encourage them to speak up. When they speak up, then even the people who are subjecting them to those harsh conditions will realize that they know. And another quick thing I wanted to bring on board are the healthcare support workers who are coming today into the country. It is already a warning because most of them don't understand their rights. So they are vulnerable to abuse by these people who are bringing them on board into this country. These agencies that are bringing healthcare workers who are not registered nurses are really subjecting some of them to suffering. And they are afraid because the visas are tied to those agencies. So they will suffer in quietness. And these people, some of them have even nowhere to live. So we need to empower our international communities to speak up so that when they realize such conditions they are subjected to, they can easily speak up. They know who to approach. They should be members of this union so that their voice is motivated, they're boosted, and they have a backup. They're really, really suffering. Right now, there's a lot of cries of healthcare professionals from overseas background who are subjected to pay so much money to come in, and then they are given peanuts. They're not even taken care of. Sometimes they arrive in the country. I have so many in our church. They arrived in the country, then they are told there is no job, and they've paid thousands of pounds for which they should not even pay. And then they are here and they are stranded, and they have families back at home. It's wrong. We need to speak up.
I completely agree with you, Eva, and those are areas of work that the RCN is working really actively on, and working with agencies and other internationally educated nurse groups and diaspora groups, because this is an absolutely essential area that further work needs to be done on quickly. I'm really sad to say that we're running out of time, and I have so many questions for you that I think we're going to have to open up another webinar like this so that we can have more conversations around it. Yeah. And I'm so sorry not to return. I've got Adekola, I'm going to come to you just 1 second. A lot of the things that have been asked through here is around continuing education and accessing into continuing education. And as you can see from our participants here, that is not a problem. This is an area that they have all actively engaged in, but there are obviously some areas that we want to discuss around that further. So Adekola, I am going to give you the last word here because unfortunately we didn't hear enough from you all the way through. And then I'm going to invite the panel back for another webinar so that we can continue on these conversations, and also let our participants know that we will be looking at your questions afterwards and looking at how we can get those answers out to you. So okay, Adekola, over to you before we move on to our very last slide.
Okay, thank you. I'm very sorry, I'm still going to pull you back a bit. So when we talk about speaking up, just to make a balance, you need to speak to the right person, to the right people. So speaking up does not mean you getting aggressive or saying I'm not going to take that and trying to just to attack the issue as it comes. That's not what we're talking about here. So speaking up is as good as the person you are speaking to. So try and identify who you need to speak to. If you don't know who to speak to, then speak to your RCN rep. They will definitely help you. They can guide you. I'm sure every institution have their speak up guardian as well. You can speak to them. If you don't feel comfortable speaking to anybody in your establishment, then speak to the RCN. Then they can take it up further from there. Okay. Then regarding the continuing education, which Nichola really wants me to talk about, it's very simple and easy because, to be honest, it's a factor of you just assessing the resources. The resources are there. If you look at the RCN website, if you look at the RCN website, they've got a dedicated section for professional development. They've got another site dedicated for RCN Learn. Okay, they have a RCN library. And to be honest, these are loaded with a lot of resources. So it's just a factor of you going there, take advantage of all this. When I started as an ITU nurse in the UK, I was just on my own. Okay, so I had to take advantage of a lot of resources on the RCN library, the RCN Learn, and I think I even joined a forum. I saw a forum on RCN then that has to do with ICU. That it was ICU group of people, ICU nurses having a forum there, which I joined, and you can learn a lot. You can even ask questions, and it's really helpful. If I'll be honest with you, I don't think there is a better library or better resources for you than
Thank
the
you.
RCN library. Just be motivated, be encouraged, go there. Even if you feel the trainings are not relevant to your current role, for whatever reason, if you feel, okay, this is going to help with your professional development going forward, then go for it. Just keep learning, keep learning, keep learning, then you'll be better for it.
Thank you. I'm really, really sad to actually bring this towards a close now. And you can see that there are 5 reasons about joining the RCN there, but we have moving forward the Institute, which has now been approved, and you've seen that launched through Congress. And one of the really exciting developments of that is an international academy, and that is around international nursing, looking at our internationally educated nurses who are here, but also those who are within country, and working with stakeholder groups and governments and also our members, which are the most important people, on how we can help and improve our internationally educated nurses who are coming to this country, as well as those that choose to stay within their own country or return and take the opportunities that we have. So I'd like to say thank you very much to my panel. And I would also like to say that we have had some fantastic questions, which I really wish I could have got to all of those questions. None of those will be ignored. Please come towards us and join the RCN and join for further and future events. We have several events that are up and coming around our internationally educated nurses and OSCEs that are coming through in December, and CBT. So please join these events and continue on your conversations. And join our forums, because our forums we have 35 forums that offer expertise across a plethora of differing areas. So you can join up to 3 forums, and it would be fantastic to hear your voice raising even louder than Ava's was at Congress. And we heard you, Ava, and it's a fantastic platform for you to move forward. Thank you, all 4 of you, for your experiences and for the time you have taken to give us your experiences on videos, which will be shared, I am sure, across the world, and I am sure that will stimulate lots more conversation. And thank you, participants, for your evening and for your interesting questions. And we will see you again very, very soon.